Hello, guys, and thank you. Welcome again to our testimonial time tonight. We have an incredible speaker, Dr. Caroline Williams. She is going to be sharing with us what LifeWave means to her, how she has developed an incredible business, and how she helps her clients to be able to get healthy and wealthy at the same time. So, are you here with us, Dr. Caroline?
Yes, thank you so much, Ed. I really appreciate it. Thanks everybody for being here in the cosmos with me. Love it. And yeah, I just want to share how I got introduced to LifeWave and how I'm using it in my practice. Yeah,
Absolutely. And it's really a joy to have you, Dr. Caroline. So, go ahead and take it away. It's all yours.
thank you. Thank you. So, again, thanks for everybody for being here. Um, so I got introduced to LifeWave basically a year ago in March. Um, how it happened was, let me let you know a little bit about myself. I've been practicing for about 22 years. I'm a chiropractic physician. I currently have a functional medicine practice in Las Vegas, and I've been, in Vegas the whole time, those 22 years practicing. Moved here to start a practice. I started functional medicine about 6 years ago. So anyway, I was meeting with one of my reps that some of the products or tools that I use to help my patients, and amazing products, nutritional products, um, full food products, and the number one herbal company, Western herbal company in the world. Okay. So anyway, so I was meeting with her and I was explaining to her a case that I had I was having a major challenge with. Okay. And what I explained to her was, look, like our tools work. We have amazing tools, but the unfortunate thing is I cannot get this person to be consistent with the tools that I currently have. Okay. And the issues that this person was having was with sleep, and they were significant. Okay. Let me explain a little bit about that. So, this person had been using Ambien for 20 years. Um, and they were only sleeping about 4 hours a night, even with Ambien. And then when he would take it, he would just get up and do all kinds of crazy stuff. So clearly wasn't good quality sleep. It had really aged him prematurely. Um, he wasn't doing well. It definitely wasn't thriving. So it was affecting everything in his life. Okay. So anyway, obviously we know, most people understand, sleep is extremely important. It's a foundational thing that you need to have good health. So he wasn't able to be consistent, like I said, with any kind of regimen to really help him as an alternative to the Ambien. Okay. So fast forward, I met with this rep. I said, look, well, starting with the things that she offers, we talked about all that. And then something in me just said, ask her about an alternative to what, she normally offers you. Just ask her. Right. So I did. So normally I wouldn't do that with a rep. I would just go with what they're already offering. Right. Like, why would they offer me anything else? They're a rep for, a company that I'm already using. Right. So anyway, so I just said, look, like, our stuff works, but I can't get it to work with this patient because they're not consistent. So do you have anything else? Do you have anything else that you can offer me? I'm looking for a solution. So she just pulls out the patches, and she had her box of patches. She pulls them out, and then she starts explaining to me what some of the different ones do. I broke it down for her. I said, look, like, a lot of his issues stem from different things. One, he recently was exposed to mycotoxins, mold, and it's been significant. He has major sinus issues as a result. So that's one of the things that affects his ability to sleep, because his sinuses close up in the middle of the night. He can't breathe and he wakes up, right? And it's a fight flight response because he stops breathing. So there's that. The other thing I said is, he has significant stress. His mind is always working. and he cannot fall asleep. And basically, he's in fight flight before he goes to bed, and his cortisol levels go up and he can't sleep. So that's another thing. So anyway, so she gives me Eon, which most of you all know that are on this call. How does that work? Well, it modulates cortisol. It activates the parasympathetic side of the nervous system, which is what you need to sleep. It's also what you need activated when you eat. Very important. It's actually the only state that we heal in. We only heal in the parasympathetic. So very important, right? So she explains Eon briefly. She introduces me to glutathione, which I already knew what that did. The thing I love about what she was telling me at the time was that it is non-chemical. Non-chemical. So I was like, wow, okay, this is amazing. So this stimulates a physiological response in the body, not using any chemicals. That was amazing to me, right? And it was superior to me because, in my opinion, most of us, and certainly this person that I'm referencing, has way too much chemical load. Okay. Toxicity is, for a lot of people, a problem in today's world, right? So she's telling me this about how the glutathione patch helps you produce your own glutathione. So that's huge. So, and then the silent night, she gave me silent night, and that helps you produce more of your own melatonin. The amazing thing about this, and again, is superior to alternatives out there, it is this. If you're using something to help your own body produce these things and it's working with your own innate intelligence, it's not going to cause a negative feedback loop or a negative effect in the future where, when you're using exogenous forms, say, for example, of melatonin, which is a hormone, you're going to shut down your own production over time. And so maybe in the beginning it would work, but in the long term, it's not a good solution, right? So if you're using something that's helping your own production, that's working with your body's own innate intelligence, right? That's not going to happen. Okay. So amazing, amazing. So anyway, so tells me about Silent Night. And then, of course, she gave me some X39. So those were the 4 patches that she introduced me to. And I know this is being recorded, so let's just talk a little bit about the X39, because I know everybody on the call understands what X39 does. But it helps you produce more of your own stem cells, which then, of course, can be made into any other type of cell for regeneration and repair. So you got damage somewhere in your body. You use something like the X39, it's going to help you make more of those cells to be made into the cells that are damaged, to repair the area that's damaged. So that's truly amazing. So we're seeing, now that I've been in for a year and I've heard people's stories and I've seen what they've gone through, there's just no doubt that this is helping people regenerate glands, organs, and tissues that were damaged. Okay, so truly amazing. But anyway, so let's go back to that time. So she introduces me to these 4 patches. And basically what I do is I'm not thinking about myself at the time. I'm thinking about my patient. Okay. So intuitively, I used a combination of the patches with him because I knew how significant his challenge was. And I knew one just ain't going to get it, right? Like I knew enough to know that. Like I've been doing this long enough, even with the nutrition and herbs. A lot of times you've got to address the underlying factors when you're really going to try to help somebody get better. If you only address one variable, they're only going to get a little bit better, right? So all those things that I just told you guys, I wanted to influence, right? So I put the Eon on him, of course. I put the glutathione on him, and I put the Silent Night on him. Now, I didn't know anything about placement, nothing. So I just kind of put them where I thought would work, right? I didn't know anything of that placement would matter or not. So I just put the 3 on him, and that night he slept all night. He slept all night that night. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, right? The second night, he on his own accord just tried the silent night alone, right? Because the lay person, maybe that doesn't have, maybe they're not looking at things the way that I am, right? They're probably just going to go off the name of the patch, right? And silent night, I mean, helps us sleep, right? So why do we need all these other patches? So he just tried just the silent night alone. Well, that didn't work so well. You know, like it didn't really do much for him just using that patch alone. So the third night, he went back to using all three, slept all night again. Amazing. Okay. And a lot of it was like the first night, he wasn't ready to say, oh, these patches are amazing. Wow, I slept, right? He kind of was like, I don't know. But the third night, he was like, okay, the next morning, he's like, okay, there's like something to these patches. And the reason I say that is because normally when I go to bed, I'm like worrying about all my problems. And that's a lot of why I can't fall asleep. And he's like, but last night, I don't even remember falling asleep. And that like never happens. Like never happens. So he was sold at that point that, you know, this really works. And I was amazed, right? And I felt like it was divine intervention, and you know, the divine was guiding me and led me to this technology. I mean, we're all being, that's true for all of us, in my opinion, but it was very clear for me. So I kind of jumped right in. I basically, I wanted to experience the patches for myself as well at that point, you know. So super excited about the stem cells, right, for myself. Um, I don't know who's not into anti-aging these days. I mean, I certainly am. In regards to, you know, I want to feel good. Certainly, I want to look good. I want to be a walking testament, right? For you can create what you want, right? That's my mentality. So, and I represent that with my actions very, very much. And so I felt like, wow, this is going to be amazing. The stem cells are going to be huge for me. I'm 51, so I'm always looking for ways to help me be the best that I can be for the time that I am here to do the work that I'm supposed to do, right? So, anyway, so I fortunately, the person that introduced me to LifeWave also introduced me to Ed and Lorenzo and Rick. And so we all had a conversation, and I basically just said, okay, like, what do you recommend to start, you know, for myself? Because I'm not really having any like significant issues. So what's your recommendation in terms of how to start? And they recommend the severe symptoms protocol, which is 5 days, right? And then the cellular regeneration protocol, which is 15 days, a total of 20 days. And so I said, okay, I'm going to do it. Let's do it. So yeah, so I had some amazing experiences with that. I went through some detox, and that didn't necessarily surprise me because, you know, doing this for as long as I have, I've done a number of what's called purifications. And the first time I ever did that, I had a heavy detox as well. And so with this, I had a heavy detox. And I'd had COVID like in the fall, which was interesting. So then this was March. And during, as we all, anybody who got COVID probably experienced this, I lost taste and smell. I really didn't have much respiratory symptoms, but I had a headache and I had a lot of pressure, you know, in this area of my head, lost taste and smell as a result. I had a lot of inflammation in there, right, from COVID. So basically that hadn't completely come back yet because it'd been 6 months. It come back some, you know, but not like it was before. So anyway, so while I was in cellular regeneration, right? So this is a little bit further into the two protocols. I just started to release tons of mucus in this frontal sinus area. Tons of mucus started coming out, and I could just feel it. And um, my perception around that is it was just sitting there. It was just sitting there since then. And that does happen, you guys. Just saying, like, you can have what's called cavitated infections, and they're kind of sequestered off. And once your body has what it needs to eliminate that, it's strong enough to do it, it will go after it. If your body's not strong enough to deal with it, it will just sequester it. Okay. So it started to release all of that. And like my taste and smell started coming back like fully, like back to normal. So that was amazing. So if any of you guys know or have people that still have symptoms of like long COVID or any kind of, smell or taste loss or anything like that, something like that protocol could make a huge difference for them. Okay. That's at least my experience. Um, I understand that whatever is in the way of, you know, your body being able to regenerate itself, it's going to remove that. So it's normal and should be welcomed if you have any kind of detox reaction. Um, I understand some people, their tolerance, everybody has different tolerance level. So, certainly respect that. But if something's happening like that, it's a good thing, right? You've got to pave the way, you've got to clear away any kind of dead debris, anything that would be getting in the way of new growth happening. Okay. So I'm a fan of that. So that was happening with me. Since then, amazing things. As far as patients, other patients that I've introduced LifeWave to, this is really interesting. And this happened again this week. Okay. So I have a patient, which some of you guys have seen this video that I did with him, a testimonial that I did with him. He's 82 years old. We've been working together. We've been working together for about 6 years. Yeah. And he historically is invested in himself. He is amazing at 82, super healthy guy. He has an amazing mentality as well, loves himself enough to invest in himself, which is great. Anyway, fast forward, I have, data on him for the last 6 years, and I introduced him to the patches pretty quickly. 6 months in, we were seeing each other at this point every 3 months. So at his 6-month visit from starting the patches, we did a body composition analysis in my office. I have something called an InBody in my office, and it measures body composition. And we do that every time I see patients, which is great. It's a great measurement tool. Okay. So he was in at the 6-month mark, and his body composition had changed dramatically. And he's 82. Okay. This is how it changed. He increased muscle mass 8 pounds. He was about the same weight. His weight hadn't changed much, but his composition had changed dramatically. So his muscle increased 8 pounds, and he decreased his body fat by like 7%. Amazing. And he wasn't doing anything else different. I specifically asked him, I said, are you doing anything different with your diet? Have you done anything different with your exercise? Are you using any other exogenous hormones like testosterone or anything like that? No, 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 none of that. All he had done different was the patches. And, I have 6 years of data on him. So that was amazing. Well, it happened this week again. I have another patient this week that came in who's in 60s, and him and his wife have been using the patches for 6 months. And we checked his body composition. His weight had actually increased quite a bit, but it was muscle. He had not gained any body fat. If anything, he had lost 0.5 pound, but he gained 7 pounds of muscle. Amazing. right? And he hasn't even been like necessarily as consistent as he would normally be with, watching his diet and exercising. Unfortunately, there were some traumatic events in their family and him and his wife's family, a lot of stress. So even in spite of that, 6 month mark, that was a significant change. I asked him to do a testimonial. His birthday's this week and he's traveling, but he said when he got back they would do it, that he would do it with me. So you'll see that data because I'll be showing that on his testimonial. I also have a severe asthmatic, and the patches have been life changing for her, life changing. And why do I say that? Well, when you're a severe asthmatic, you're sensitive to like so many things. You live in fear, right? Because you're reactive to so many things, even natural things. And a lot of us take that for granted because we don't have those kinds of issues. But she automatically goes into fight flight mode anytime you suggest anything new. I had to kind of work with her and explain everything really thoroughly. Like these are non-chemical. A lot of the nutrition that I use with her as well, I have to be very careful. We have to tread lightly, just make sure she's not going to have like a horrible reaction. Anyway, so she's been using the patches, and I remember like a couple months in, and she was going to go visit her family. Her and her father moved here because of her asthma, because of the environment here, and she's from Arkansas. So she was going to not move back, I'm sorry. She was going to go visit her family in Arkansas. And this was during Christmas. And I saw her when she came back and she was so happy. And I was like, what's different? Right? Like, your attitude is so much better. Like, what's going on? And she's like, oh my gosh, I took your advice. I put the energy enhancers on my lung points. I've been doing everything that you suggested with the other patches. That the Eon's a big one for her as well because of the fight flight she's always in. And she said that she was able to stay in a room where they have a wood burning stove, and she's never been able to do that. So she was so happy that she was able to do that. So it's just made such a huge difference for her quality of life. And I'm excited to see what happens over time as she continues to be consistent with and use the patches. So you guys, like, if there's any practitioners on here, it's just another tool that you could use with your patients that would help them in a different way. Maybe some of your other things can't, or you just have some people that have challenges with what you currently have, like I did, you know. Definitely it's a good tool to have in the toolbox for sure. Yeah. So does anybody have any questions about anything that I shared?
Thank you, Dr. Caroline. I have a couple questions and I'll be short because I think what you share with us with the severe symptoms protocol and the cellular regeneration, there's an echo, and I don't know if it's me or somebody else, so I apologize for that. As that was recommended to you, you were able to do that on yourself. Do you also recommend that to your patients, and why?
Yes, I did. Well, the way that I looked at it, the way that I explained it based on my experience is it's like hitting a reset button, right? So when you go through those two protocols, it really preps your body, right? It really helps go through detoxification. It helps stimulate change very quickly, right? What I usually recommend is once you go through those two protocols, then we can customize, what we want to work on moving forward. And some of the patches you might not use all the time, right? Like the LifeWave, you're maybe only going to use that when you have pain, right? That makes sense. But you want to have it available to you as an alternative to a lot of the chemical approaches because it does work and it's not going to add chemical stress to the body. So you're not going to have a price to pay for that where you would cumulative use of an NSAID or cumulative use of a pain med. I mean, that's hard on the organs, especially cumulatively, right? So yeah, IceWave, you just want to have it on hand, but you're not necessarily going to use it all the time, right? Yeah.
So we have a question. Adet has a question, and go ahead and unmute yourself, Adet, but please try to keep the questions to nothing personal for any particular person, and no disease related, just deal with the symptoms. And Dr. Caroline will be able to help you. I won't stop the recording and I'll edit later. So go ahead, Adet.
Thank you for your share, Dr. Caroline. Question on both patients that increased muscle and decreased body fat percentage. Which patches were they?
X39 and X49.
Every day?
Every day.
Okay.
And then also, they're also using Eon as well. They're using Eon, yeah. But definitely the X39 and the X49. I can't say, one of my patients is also using the energy enhancer, but I don't know that they're using that one every day.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Any other questions, you guys? And how much time do we have with you, Dr. Caroline? We want to respect your time.
I'm pretty good here for the next, I would say 15 minutes.
Okay. Sandra, you
Yes.
have a question. Go ahead and unmute yourself. There you go.
Yes, thank you. I have watched a video that was sent about the different protocols, and I'm just going to start. So my question is, how do I evaluate? Do you start at one and then you go through all of them consecutively, or how do you know which ones to use when? And my situation is severe spinal pain.
Okay. If you're having severe spinal pain, typically what's recommended is going through the 7 steps of the pain protocol. So
In
typically,
order, like 1, 2, 3, 4, like just like.
yeah, just like it just kind of gives you the steps to start with, right? Start with step 1. And the reason for that is you could hit a point in the steps where you get relief and you don't necessarily need to go through the whole 7 steps, right?
And how long would you stay on each step?
No, like when you do the 7 steps, you're doing it at one time, right? So you're going through the 7 steps, you're putting the patches on until you're feeling the relief that you want to feel. So, you know, you see what I'm saying? You're doing it at one time. So
I do now. That was a little confusing in that video. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, because I can tell from your question, it sounded confusing. So yeah, you just go through the 7 steps until you hit the point where you're like, okay, this is the relief that I'm looking for. I had somebody who had spinal surgery, and she wanted to use the patches for a lot of reasons. One, certainly for the pain, but also for the regeneration, right? Anytime you have any kind of trauma, it's definitely going to help promote the healing process, right? Like the X39, of course, is a staple to that. The Eon's really important too, because it gets you in that healing mode. It gets you into the parasympathetic where you can heal. So those are really important. But the 7-step protocol for pain is going to help, you know, certainly with cellular regeneration, because those patches are included, but also with pain. So I had her do the same thing. I had her go through the 7 steps. She got the amount of relief that she was looking for before even getting to the last few steps. So, right. But it's good to have that protocol. So if you're not, you just go all the way through. You just go all the way through and you're having all those patches on you at once.
So then I need to make sure I have enough to buy all of those patches that I have them available.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That was my question. What level so
Yeah.
I could get the patches I need? Thank you so
Yeah.
much for clearing this up.
You're welcome. The other thing I wanted to point out too, that I always remind my patients and also my LifeWave family about, is hydration is so important. Hydration is key. So, and a lot of people struggle with that. it's a challenge for a lot of people. So hydration is really water and minerals together, right? It's that relationship. So you want to have certainly water, but you also want to have electrolytes. So you want to have where you're drinking sometimes some electrolytes during the day in the water that you're drinking. You want to start with at least half your body weight in water that you're drinking a day, but you might end up needing more than that because with the patches, it's definitely going to increase the need. So the more patches you use, the more hydration you'll need.
Is that
Okay.
because our body is detoxing? Is that why we need water, Dr. Caroline?
It's because our bodies are conductors of energy. And for our bodies to conduct energy effectively and efficiently, we need water and we need minerals for conductivity to happen, even on a cellular level. Okay,
Wow.
this is like how we were designed, how we were made, right? Like that's what I think a lot of people don't realize is that our physical bodies conduct ourselves. That's why we're alive at all. And it's never our body, it's never our spirit that fills the body. It's our body that fills the spirit, our spirit being life force energy, right? And what I mean by that is the body either doesn't have what it needs to effectively conduct energy, or there's something in the way, right? There's some kind of resistance in the body that's not allowing for the conduction to take place. But all our healing is dependent on that. Again, that's why we're alive at all. It's our health and our healing are dependent on the effective flow of energy, right? Like all healing requires energy, 100%. So that's why nutrition is so important, right? Foundationally, your physical body has nutritional needs to feed the glands, organs, and tissues of the body, but also, again, for conductivity of energy. Okay, so that's the fundamental. So, with the patches, we're conducting that energy. And so hydration and mineral status is hugely important for that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us, because a lot of people, the more we patch, the more we come to realize that a lot of people don't even like to drink water, much less minerals. So, we just did a health expo here in Maryland, and there was a lot of people that were helped. There were some people that were not really able to bring their pain down. And I believe it's because of that. They weren't well hydrated or even nutrients, in their body that because we don't tell us. And David has one more question. So tell us why it is important that we also have a good nutrition as well as good hydration and exercise and sleep.
You want to think of your body, it's a reserve of nutrients. Actually, we actually store, what's the most abundant mineral in the body? Calcium, right? Where do we store that? Where most abundantly do we store that? It's in the bones and the teeth. It's not just for structural integrity, it's a resource for those minerals when we need them. Our immune system is really dependent on adequate calcium to effectively stimulate what's called phagocytosis. You need access to that. Well, thank goodness that we were made in a way that we are reserves. We have reserves of that. You don't want to be using your reserves all the time. A lot of eating today, a lot of people don't know this, but if you follow Weston Price at all, you'll understand. When we're eating sugar, it's the great demineralizer. Dental caries is really a lot because of that. We know that, most people know that, they're aware of that sugar can cause dental caries, but ultimately it's a demineralization that takes place. So we have a lot of things in today's world that take minerals out of our body consistently, and we're not putting them back. Even drinking like reverse osmosis water, as much as it's filtered, it also kind of acts like a vacuum and it can demineralize you as well. So if you drink water in the natural world from like a spring or a river, that has minerals in it. you know, water was the nutritional source historically. And, you know, we do things differently today, you know, in today's world. And so you've got to replace those things. You've got to, number one, not be doing things that are demineralizing you. And number two, have a source of those things that you're consuming, right? So nutrition is extremely important because we're constantly recreating ourselves. Our cells are always turning over, and whatever you're consuming is going into making the new you. It's going into making the new, structurally goes into making the new cells, the new glands, new organs, new tissues, because we're constantly recycling ourselves, right? And what you're consuming and what we're exposed to is going to go into that new you. So you are what you eat is very true. You are what you eat. You are what you think. You are how you feel, right? Like all those things are important, like, you know, in terms of the residual effect of us recreating ourselves all the time.
Absolutely.
If that
That's
makes
beautiful.
sense. Yeah.
David, you had a question. You lower your hand. Do you want to ask your question still?
Yeah, just real quick. Thanks, Dr. Caroline, for actually giving your time and this great information. What I wanted to ask you, the two individuals that you did work with, were they using SP6 also?
No, not consistently. There were times where one of my patients was using SP6, but not consistently. The ones that they were really consistent with were the 39 and the 49. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Liana, you have a question real quick? Unmute yourself.
Yes, I do. Dr. Caroline, thank you so much. I'm just wondering, the man with the sleep issue that used the Eon, the X39, and the Silent Nights, where was your placement?
So initially when I started with him, I didn't know anything about placement. So the amazing thing is it still worked, even though I didn't know anything. The Eon now, he's kind of funny, like, well, not funny, but he's very sensitive to things. So he will move things around just on his own. I cannot say that he's consistent with any kind of placement. And the reason is because, like, you know, he'll start up and he'll put it on, you know, C7T1, and then it'll bother him there, and then he'll move it, right? It still works. It even works when he puts on his clothing, because I'm like, well, just put it on your clothing. If it's bothering your skin, you know, just put it on your clothing. You know, it still works for him. So I like it when people can use the placements that were given by David, but sometimes people are not, and it still works for them.
Wow,
Okay.
that's awesome. Joyce,
Yeah.
you have a question? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Joyce, go ahead. If you have a question, unmute yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize, you know, my question was the same as Leanna's. The placement of for the gentleman with the sleep issue, because I have a nephew who's at night, the fight and flight situation. And that was what I was concerned about, with also the placement of the Eon and the glutathione and the Silent Night.
Well, the other thing I should share as well is I've tried other things with him since then. So the Silent Night doesn't seem to be a need for him. It doesn't really do it for him. But so I started using Nirvana with him at night. So, you know, the Eon is the staple for sure, but also Nirvana. And that seems to work really good. Because again, like, one of his biggest problems is that his mind kind of runs away with him, you know, and it's difficult for him to control that or turn it off. So the Eon and the Nirvana have been helping a lot lately.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's been a great information. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Vicky, it's your turn. You have the floor now, and then we'll end up with your question.
Thank you, Dr. Caroline. I always love listening to you, and I always learn something from you. So you're just an amazing person.
Oh, thank you.
I wanted to ask you a question, but I forgot because I'm listening to everybody, and I'm like, wait a minute, so many things have happened. So can I just message you my question when I remember?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Definitely.
Okay.
Any question you guys have, for sure, feel free to
Okay.
message.
We have a
Thank you.
question. We have a question here by Dorothy. It says, does it matter whether you use the stem cells during the day or night, and love them both at both times?
Yeah, I think it's just a personal preference. I think whatever's going to work for you, right? Like, because of the water and the electrolyte requirements that I feel like, the patches need, person needs while using the patches. Really, I think you want to think about how that's best going to work for you, because I have certain patients that are using a certain amount of patches at night and a certain amount of patches during the day. Because at night you can't be consistently drinking water. So they might not want to put as many patches on at night for that reason. Sometimes patients wake up feeling a little dehydrated because of it. So during the day, you're able to drink a lot more water, So usually, I'll suggest the ones that are going to help with sleep at night and help with getting in that parasympathetic. So of course, that's the Eon. I love that one at night. Silent Night would obviously be at night. Nirvana, like again, I'm using that now with that person I mentioned. That seems to work really good for him at night. So during the day, I like the X39. I have a history of being an athlete. So when I'm training, I'll use the X39 and the 49 and the energy enhancer. And it really helps with my training, right? So I like that during the day. But if you're a person that is, maybe it's better for you to wear the X39 at night, that's okay too. That's great. I don't feel like there's a wrong way, necessarily. There's like different things that you could try. And I would even look at it like that. Be willing to experiment a little bit. It's okay. You can try it. And then just let us know you guys' experience, because we can learn from that, right? We can try different things and we can be like, man, I did this combo, and this is what happened. And it was amazing. And just really rely on your intuition for that, right? Go within, ask your internal guidance, like, oh, what feels right to me? What makes sense to me? Right?
Absolutely. Do you mind if we share your website with the team, Dr. Caroline, on the chat? So
Yeah,
we can get a
absolutely.
hold of you.
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm also like, I'm going to be doing some things the next couple months with health advisement. You don't necessarily have to become a patient. It's really just, there's a lot of wealth advisement out there. I don't feel like there's a lot of health advisement. There's a lot of kind of like what you posted earlier. There's a lot of treatment, but there's not a lot of advisement, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So the advisement aspect is really be an offering to people into the world where you can provide your expertise, and you're really not, there's no attachment to doing anything any one certain way. It's really just some awareness and some guidance that you can provide, and maybe even getting a second opinion. And then, a person has more information to make a decision on. So
That's
let me
great.
doing that.
Well, we
Mhm.
appreciate you, Dr. Caroline, and we're going to stop asking you questions. I know this can go for hours because you're so full of information for us, and we just really love you and appreciate all that you do for us and for our team. Thank you for taking care of all your patients, and if you were a military, I would salute you, because you guys do wonderful jobs, you and the doctors that are using these tools to help your patients. So last question I have, along with this as a tool, you'll continue to do your practice, right? So you haven't stopped your practice. This has become secondary to your practice, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you so much. Like, same here. You guys have been a blessing. You're a blessing to so many people. And, thank you for supporting our team. We love you as well. I do want to say that yeah, like you can incorporate into your practice. A practitioner can any way that they want to, you know. I've been planning on doing more videos and doing more educational videos for our team and for really anybody using LifeWave. And I'm going to do that. So just know that I'm going to do that. I've been asked by my downline to do more of that. And so I do plan on doing that to support you guys as well and support our team as a whole.
Yes, so you have a Native Son YouTube channel. Could you tell me that address so that I can share here with everybody? I know you have some videos, and wherever you're going to be posting them, you're going to be posting them in your personal or your Native Son?
Probably Native Son. I might do some of my personal too.
Okay.
But yeah, and I mean, I'm starting another platform as
Okay.
well called Awareness Expansion, because as you know, we use the BioWell. So I'm using the BioWell in my practice as well as a measurement tool, and an awareness tool. And I reached out to some other organizations that I'm part of, and I want to start doing some research with the BioWell specifically. Yeah. So as a result of that, doing this research, I started another platform called Awareness Expansion. So I'll be sharing some stuff on there as well with LifeWave. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll wait for you to share that with us, and then we'll share it to everybody else. So thank you again, guys. We're gonna close. You have anything else to close with, Dr. Caroline?
No, just I'm like so happy to be here with you guys. And this type of technology and what it can do is definitely the future. You know, more and more people. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're
Yeah.
welcome. More and more people are just becoming aware of, the energetic body. And that's why I like the BioWell so much too, is because it shows that, and it can show, like, when you introduce, say, like the patches or any kind of nutrition or anything into what we call the morphogenic field, right, which is our energetic body, you can see immediate change, which is really amazing. So that's why I want to do studies with it, because it's just more and more evidence that this works and how it works. And you can show before and afters, and you can show how this type of technology is influencing the body. You can certainly use blood tests and other type of testing as well, but that's residual. That's residual. You can see it in real time with the energetic body. You can see it instantaneously with the energetic body. The bringing it into the physical is a residual effect of that, a residual manifestation, right? And that can take time, because it's a consistency of what you're doing that will bring it into the physical. You have to be consistent long enough. And we all operate based on patterns that we have created, right? And so that's a lot of times why it's hard to get past stuff, because we're still operating in this pattern, right? So we have to change that. But a lot of things that we do positively impact us. And if we do that consistently enough, you're going to see physical manifestation happen. You're going to see change happen, right? I feel like a lot of people give up a little too soon before that physical manifestation has completely taken place, and they lose faith in the process. So don't do that. Don't lose faith. If you need something that shows you what's happening, what's changing, there are tools to do that. The BioWell's one of those, right? So, Ed, you have a BioWell. Who else on your team now has a BioWell?
A lot of people now have BioWells in our team. Elsie in New Jersey has one. So really quick idea, guys. What we could do is we can test you here locally, and we can share that information with your permission to Dr. Caroline, and she could do a consultation with you guys, so that she can read the BioWell. Because again, I'm not a doctor, we're not doctors, she's a doctor, she's the expert at it. And what you just said, Dr. Caroline, it just blew my mind. Vicky and I, we do this with you. We listen intently. because what you say are so much gold nuggets that you give us. I mean, the manifestation of a body is first in the spirit, is first in the energy. I mean, if you guys, you'll get that on your way home, right? Because that would really, when we realize how important this body that God has given us, this temple that God has given us, he told us to take care of it, because this is the only one that we have. And Vicky always says that we are our best health advocates. Nobody, no doctor, no person in the world is going to tell you how to take care of your body unless you do. You may have a wife like I do that tells me, honey, stop eating those cookies. They're not good for you. And I might be mad at her, but eventually I realize that they are not for my body, because I got to take care of this body. And I just want to thank you, Dr. Caroline. You were great. You were incredible. Thank you guys for all your questions, and we'll meet again next week. And if you have any other questions for Dr. Caroline, I will share. I posted her website. If you want more information, I will get a hold of her, and then you can get a hold of her that way too, because she is available. And making this consultation things are going to be incredible for us too. So thank you, Dr. Caroline.